Hello and welcome. Everything we read in history books is usually polished and organized, but behind the curtain lie surprises that shocked scientists, the bizarre quirks of emperors, and sometimes the deeply shameful secrets of humanity. Today, I'm going to tell you 5 shocking facts that aren't taught in schools. Get ready, because these insights might just change how you perceive history itself. Think about it. 70% of the earth is covered in water, and the sky is all around us. So how did the ancient Greeks describe this color? They couldn't. Homer famously described the sea as wind-dark or deep purple. Yet, the sea and wine are not blue. Linguists noticed that the word blue is almost entirely absent from ancient Greek texts. The reason, according to some theories, is that because blue pigment is rare in nature, ancient cultures simply didn't perceive blue as a primary color. It is theorized that the human language needed to name a color before the eye could actively distinguish it. For example, one of the first civilizations to fully name the color blue was the Egyptians. Why? Because they were the first to artificially produce the blue pigment Egyptian blue. Humanity gazed at the sea and the sky for millennia before naming the color. This shows how much our perception is tied to our language. Nothing in history is as fascinating as the oddities of the rule makers. First, let's turn to Queen Victoria. In the 19th century, Queen Victoria is known for using chloroform to ease the pain during the births of her 9 children. Even more astonishing, substances like cocaine and opium were completely legal and popular among the wealthy circles of the time. Usedas, tonics, syrups, and even cures for toothache, often consumed regularly with a doctor's prescription. Now, let's head to Russia. Until the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia continued to use the Julian calendar, which lagged 13 days behind most of Europe. When Russia switched to the Gregorian calendar in 1918, to reconcile the difference, they deleted a 13-day period from the calendar. This means that the day after January 31st, 1918, was not February 1st, but February 14th, 1918. Russia literally time-traveled on paper. History is filled with great wars, but some are utterly absurd. Let's take a closer look at Australia's Great Emu War. In 1932, in Western Australia, thousands of emus caused massive damage to farmers' crops. What did the government do to stop these pests? They deployed the regular army. The military was equipped with machine guns and plenty of ammunition. The plan was simple: corner the emus and shoot them en masse. However, the emus proved to be much faster, smarter, and more resilient than expected. Emus ran up to 30 miles per hour, scattered to avoid bullets, and dispersed quickly. The military killed very few emus in weeks of operation and wasted most of its ammunition. The result? The Australian military officially conceded that they had lost the war against the birds and withdrew. Emus remained the only bird species in world history to have defeated an army. The afterlife was an obsession for ancient civilizations, and that obsession led to some very strange outcomes. Among the treasures in the tomb of Egyptian pharaoh Tutankhamun were not just gold artifacts. The soles of his sandals were engraved with images of his favorite dogs. This meant that when he walked, or his spirit walked, he would be stepping on the images of his dogs with every stride. In Egyptian belief, stepping on something meant dominating it completely and sending its soul to eternal peace. Thus, the pharaoh wanted to assert his control over his dogs' spirits to ensure their peaceful passage into the next life. The Mongol custom, the exact burial site of the Mongol Emperor Genghis Khan, remains undiscovered to this day. According to legend, to ensure the secrecy of the location, all the soldiers and witnesses in the funeral procession were executed. Furthermore, some sources claim that after the location was concealed, a river was diverted to flow over the grave. This is one of history's best kept, and perhaps most bloody funeral secrets. Sometimes, historical facts are hidden behind romantic legends. Pitcairn Island, for all of us, was the exotic, isolated relic of the Bounty Mutiny. But in the early 21st century, a dark secret of the island came to light. Pitcairn is one of the smallest and most isolated communities in the world. In 2004, a significant portion of the island's male population faced international trials for generational child abuse and sexual assault crimes. During these trials, the defense argued that the island's isolated traditions permitted these acts. The court rejected these claims, convicting 6 men based on English common law, sentencing them to prison. These events decimated Pitcairn as social structure and painfully demonstrated to the world that even in the most isolated paradise corners, the rule of law and child protection systems are essential. The Anglo-Zanzibar War, 1896. The shortest recorded war in history lasted only 45 minutes between the United Kingdom and the Zanzibar. Following a dispute over the succession to the throne, The British Navy's ultimatum expired. Just 40 minutes after the Navy began shelling the Sultan's palace, the Sultanate surrendered unconditionally. This is a shocking testament to how quickly a conflict can begin and end. The Great Molasses Flood, 1919. In 1919, Boston, a giant tank holding 2.3 million gallons, 8.7 million liters of molasses exploded. The resulting spill created a flood that traveled at 35 mph 56 km per hour and reached heights of 15 feet 4.5 meters. This sticky, dark brown wave killed 21 people. The disaster was caused by faulty construction, and the smell lingered in Boston streets 4 years afterward. Ketchup was not originally a tomato sauce. The origin of ketchup comes from a fermented fish sauce called ketchup, which spread from China to Southeast Asia and was brought to Europe by British sailors in the 17th century. This original sauce contained no tomatoes. It was primarily made from pickled fish, salt, vinegar, mushrooms, or walnuts. Tomatoes were only added to the formula by Americans in the early 19th century. The urine tax factigal urine in ancient Rome. During the reigns of Emperors Vespasian and Nero, a tax was levied on urine collected from public restrooms. Urine was extremely valuable for industry at the time due to its ammonia content. It was used to wash clothes, tan processed leather, and even whiten teeth. Vespasian's famous reply to criticism of this tax was, "Money does not stink. Pecunia non olet." Napoleon's height was a misconception contrary to popular belief. The French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte was not short. His height was recorded as 5 feet 2 inches French measure, which equates to about 5 feet 6 inches, 1.68 meters. Today an average height for a Frenchman of his time. This myth originated from a confusion between French and English measurement systems and continuous propaganda by English cartoonists. During the Prohibition era in the US, when people began stealing industrial alcohol for illegal liquor production, the federal government decided to deliberately poison industrial alcohol with deadly toxins like methanol and kerosene. This measure, intended to halt bootlegging, directly led to the poisoning deaths of thousands of Americans. The Colosseum in Rome was not just a place of death and entertainment. It also functioned as one of the most advanced trauma surgery and medical centers of its time. Gladiators were valuable investments. Therefore, specialized surgeons operated beneath the Colosseum to provide the best possible care for the wounded fighters, significantly advancing medical knowledge in the Roman Empire. Before the widespread adoption of automobiles, major cities in the late 19th century, like New York and London, faced the threat of becoming uninhabitable due to the enormous amount of horse manure generated by horse-drawn vehicles. Experts predicted that within 50 years, manure would pile up 10 feet 3 meters high in city streets, forcing people to abandon them. This massive logistical and health crisis was miraculously solved only by the invention and rapid adoption of the automobile.